When I was little and I would be playing outside with my friends and I would get hurt, I would try very hard not to cry. I would be big and strong. But the minute I got home and I could get into my mama's arms, I wailed like a baby because it was safe. I want you to know that out in the world, they say, be strong. Don't let them see you cry. But you have to have a place of safety. And I want you to know that no matter what kind of face you have to put on during the week, no matter how you have to feel like you have it together in front of your family members, when you get with God or when you get to church, you don't have to be strong. Church is a place you should feel like you can come and rush into the Father's arms and tell your brother and sister, I'm not doing so well. I need you to pray for me this week. It's been a really lousy time. I feel helpless. I'm in the middle of a situation and I'm not independent enough to change it, but here I am. I need your help. I want you to know that church should always be that kind of place for you. I want you to know that if you're weak, come to church. If you feel like a failure, come to church. If you feel like you're filthy and dirty because of the way that you're living, come to church. Because church is where you can get some support. Church is where you can get some help. It's a wise person that will know where to go to get help. When I was little, I had a very vivid imagination, and there was quite a difference of a span between myself and my sister and my brother. So while I wasn't the only child, at times I would feel like the only child because you didn't really have a sibling to play with. When I wasn't in school, they were off at the school doing their thing. And so I would entertain myself. And I had decided that watching Shirley Temple one day on the TV, that's who I was going to be. I was shy, but I thought, but I can become this actress, and that would be awesome. And it looked like so much fun. And so I decided that I would practice, and I think I've told you before that I would do songs and commercials and little skits for God because I thought he got bored. I thought I would get bored if there was nothing but just this glory up there all the time. And, so I gave him something to watch. And so in preparing for my role, I would have my own talk shows. Now they were invisible guests, but in my mind, if you would walk by my door, you would think I was talking to somebody else because I would also do the voice of the other person. And I was committed to this talent. I thought I've got to give it my all. And I was about 6, 7 years old. And my father, while he traveled a lot and was gone a lot, he had not experienced my talk shows. My mother had, my poor sister had, and my brother had, because even though I would go to my room had great acoustics because we didn't have carpet, we just had tile. And because we moved from house to house a lot, my father did not want pictures on the walls because what do pictures do? They put holes in the walls. So if you're in your room and there's just a little bit of furniture, the acoustics is great. It almost sounds like you're in, the shower. And so one day when he was home, he was going to go do some errands and he wanted to know if I wanted to go with him. And I thought, yes. Because every talk show at this time had been in my house. And now I could do a live documentary. How great would this be? Through my eyes, I thought this would be very entertaining for him. However, when I grew up, I realized that sometimes you just want peace and quiet. And sometimes you've got stresses and your patience isn't where it should be. But when you're a child, these things don't come into play. And so I decided I would sit in the back seat rather than the front seat because I could do more of a narration that way. And so as we get into the car, I start my narration of, I'm in the car with my father right now, and he's getting ready to start the car. He would start the car, and I'm like, we are now backing out of the driveway. And I would narrate everything that we had seen. And I could see him in the rearview mirror, and he would look and frown. And as I would talk about the people in the car and what I was seeing and how the weather was, I hear this, Twyla, Jeanette, shut up. And I'm like, my father just told me to shut up. But I need to finish this episode. And so he rides a little bit further, and he's like, I mean it. If you don't shut up, I'm going to pull the car over. My father just said to me in a stern voice, if I don't shut up, he will pull the car over. And sure enough, the car got pulled over, and he's like, that's it. And he hits the steering wheel, and I'm like, okay, guys, my father just pulled the car over. I'll be back with you in a minute. Well, he pulls me out of the car, and by the side of the road, I get a spanking. That was before the child abuse hotlines. It was normal back then. I get back into the car, and he's like, I mean it. Shut up. I don't want to hear another word. But you know, a person is true to their craft, and they have got to be committed. So me and my imaginary microphone. Okay, guys. So my dad, he just spanked me, but I got to finish this show. And he's like, for God's sakes. 2 spankings later, I finally get home, and I'm like, okay, we made it home. And he slams the door, and I come up behind him. He opens the door and yells to my mom, she is mental. Do something with her. But you know, I had to stay dedicated. And I took that same role in life with everything that I had done, because I grew up and I heard the verse that there says there's a cloud of witnesses watching us all the time. I'm like, see, I knew there was people watching. Yeah, I knew there was God watching, but you have a whole cloud of witnesses. So I don't know if you ever wanted to be in a movie. I don't know if that's something that was a desire, but you are. You are front stage in a suspense movie, an adventure. I hope it's not a horror movie, but you are the main character. You're the main character of a book that's being written. You're the main character of the movie of your life. And you have a cloud of witnesses in heaven that have gone before you that's trying to cheer you on, to give you support. But on the flip side, you have an enemy that also watches every single move that you make. If any of you are sports fans out there, you know that a good team player will watch the opposing team, and they will have what they call playbacks sometimes. And your coach will have you come in and watch and study the other teammates. Not so that you will be intimidated. You're not looking at it that way. You're finding their weak points. You want to see where they're weak. Are they weak on the left side, the right side? Do they have a certain pattern about them so that you know how to attack them? And it will make you a better athlete. The enemy does the same thing. He watches your life. See, he can't read your thoughts, but he can give you thoughts. And he watches you from your first breath. He wants to know what angers you, what upsets you, what pushes your buttons, what your weak spots are, because he listens in on your conversations. So whether you like it or not, from your first breath to your last breath, you are thrown into this movie, if you will, of your life, and it's a battle and a struggle for your soul. One wants to propel you to success. The other wants to destroy you so that you don't complete the task before you. My father, since he traveled a lot, this was before GPS, he would get a map out. I would come in and he would have a map out on the table, and he would take a pencil and he would kind of follow the lines of where he needed to go. He studied it beforehand because he didn't want to have to keep pulling the car over and study and look at this map. And if you didn't have a map, you either went with somebody who knew where they were going, or you asked questions. You wanted to have some kind of roadmap to get you where you needed to be. And then what a great time it was when GPS came out. That is awesome, because if you don't have it in your car and you have a phone, you can have it on your phone. If you don't have that, you can go to the computer and you can do a map quest and you can print out a piece of paper and it will tell you exactly where to go. But wouldn't you think that somebody was a complete idiot if they had at their disposal the GPS in their car, on their phone, and every time they were supposed to go somewhere, they would be late because they got lost. Wife mad, children crying, but every single time. And maybe perhaps one of these times, after you noticed that this was a pattern, you perhaps would say, do you not have GPS in your car? And how silly if their response would be, yeah, I have it, but I don't want it telling me what to do. Well, how's that working for you? Not very good. See, we have tools at our disposal that would make our life a whole lot easier. But because we have a little bit of a rebel in us, we're like, well, I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I can figure it out on my own. Yeah, you can, but man, you're going to take some bumps and you're going to take some bruises. And we're really not as smart as we think that we are. So what would it be like, go with me, in this movie? And a lot of these movies will have a quest. I don't know about you, but I like the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and all those kind of movies. And there's always a quest that they have. And usually there's like some map or some wise person that's telling them what's going to be required of them. So it would be like, since life is a journey, and the only requirement that you have is that you're breathing, it's non-negotiable. But you are told that you're going to have to go on a journey. There's no choice. You are going to be on this journey. It's a requirement. And as long as you're breathing, you can't get out of it. But on this journey, there's going to be invisible enemies coming after you to keep you from reaching the prize, the destination. You have a great destination that's waiting for you. But to get to it, it's going to be a perilous journey. And you're on this journey pretty much alone. You'll meet people along the road, but pretty much it's up to you how this is going to play out. But along this journey, there's going to be sinking sand. There's going to be bottomless pits that are covered over that you won't know where they are. There's going to be landmines. There's going to be explosives. There's going to be people following you, but you don't see them. And their entire job is to detour you from this journey. Man, that sounds kind of bleak, doesn't it? I don't want to be in that movie. But the movie's not over. Because the same person says, but don't be too discouraged because we have help for you. And isn't that great when you get help, whether it's the magic arrow, the magic feather, the sword, whatever it is, and they hand you a map. And they say, on this map, we have mapped out where all of the danger is. In fact, we've highlighted it. You'll know every area that has quicksand. You'll know every area where the enemy is going to hide out. You'll know where every explosive is. But you got to have this map with you. So my question would be, what are you going to do with this map? It's good news that you have it, but how will you treat this map that will lead you to the road of success, that will keep you alive spiritually? Are you going to wad it up and put it in your pocket? Are you going to read it once a week, study it once a week? Are you going to look at it occasionally or will you ignore it? But remember, this map, your life and success depends on this map. This map, man, I would laminate it and it would be the most valuable thing to me. I would guard it with my life because my safety and survival depend on this map if I want to make it to the other side. Well, see, we're all on this journey called life. And in this journey, there's all kinds of traps, tricks, and snares that the enemy wants to use to take you out. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't slumber. And he's interested in you. You're his main goal to destroy. On the other hand, we have a God that doesn't sleep or slumber. And you're his main goal to revive and bring life to. But it's a struggle, and you're thrown right in the middle of it. Don't you want to be prepared? Don't you want to know what areas to look out for? Don't you want to know the enemy's secret hiding places? So that you can not only take him out, but maybe rescue some people along the way that he has snared. See, we're on, whether we want to admit it or not, we're on a rescue mission. And it's not just to save us, it's to save those that we find along the way. That's the will of Christ. Not just that you come to church. Oh, that's good. But you're not fulfilling his will if you're not trying to rescue people along the way. The enemy's job is to steal, kill, and destroy you. He hates you, and he will do whatever he can do to entice you to not run to the Father. You are the star of your show. What will you do with it? But see, we can be grateful because God has given us a map. Now, if you want to applaud, that would be a good time to applaud. Because that gives you hope in a hopeless situation. What you think about this map, how you treat this map, how much you study this map will affect how well you survive the journey. See, it's not hopeless. And you really are in charge. You are in charge of your life, whether it's going to be successful or not successful, whether you're going to be rich or not rich, whether you're going to have a good education and be able to provide for your loved ones or not. That's what's great. You get to write your story. But you have to have directions. You have to know how to set up that story. What you think about this map will decide the rest of your life. You might decide to throw it on your nightstand, let it gather dust, know that it's there. You might pick it up or maybe listen to a scripture read once a week, and that gets a little bit of knowledge in you. But if you want your life to be a success while you're here, if you want to complete this journey, if you want to have the great reward at the end of this journey, see, you're already living, so why don't you live for something that's worthwhile? You're already here at church, so why don't you invest a little bit of the time and learn something? Walk out of here with a little bit more of a weapon, another tool in your toolkit that you can outsmart the devil. If you don't do it for yourself, why don't you do it for the loved ones that the devil has destroyed, that the devil has put disease upon, has taken out, that the way that things are going in your school, if you're not happy about that, the way things are going in your city, if you're not happy about it, you know how you can make a difference? You can take out one of those tools that you've gotten from reading your map, and you can know how to destroy the enemy. See, what's really cool, our body is in different stages of strength or weaknesses. But your spirit has a potential to be the strongest in the world. We're all on an even playing ground there. What you put into your spirit will decide what's going to happen in your life and how strong that you can be. See, you can conquer devils right from sitting from this pew just because of your spirit being so strong and knowing how to pray. You want to be the superhero of the world? Learn how to pray. Learn how to read your map. This map is essential to your well-being and your spiritual survival. But the devil has strategies, and this map will teach you some of his strategies, some of his weak points, if you will. Because the devil has a lot of weak points, and we don't think about that. We think, oh, we've got to get the devil off of our back. Well, how about let's going into offense mode, not defense mode? How about you get him where it hurts? See, the devil will want you to cuss and throw a fit. You want to get him where it hurts? You take a deep breath and you say, God, help me through this situation. Oh, the devil has to back up. He's like, I can't hang with that. You're tired from working all week and everything just so happens on Sunday morning while you're getting ready for church. You want the rest of your week to go better? Go to church. Devil has to back up. He's like, I can't even be in that car. They got singing, they're praising worship. I can't even be close to them. See, it's kind of, if you look at it this way, life almost becomes like a great game of chess, if you will. It becomes a really interesting game. And I enjoy games. So for me, each moment that I make a decision and each day is like this game that I'm playing. And I'm studying it. And if I'm saying, if I move here, then I block the enemy here. But if I move over here, man, he's going to take me out today. It's actually very entertaining. So let's look at some of if you haven't studied your Bible much, or if you've read the Bible, but maybe just kind of skimmed over the words, let's look at a few of the strategies that the devil will use so that I can help highlight some of those places on your map. He didn't wait very long. He started clear back in Genesis. And he first shows up in Genesis chapter 3. And I'm just going to read through a few of the verses. But I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 strategies that the devil will use on you and I. But if you're wise to him and know that what he's trying to do, you can outsmart him every single time. I want you to know that life is rough. Life hurts. Life is also amazing and wonderful, and it's filled with blessings. But if something happens to your life that has hurt your heart, that has confused you, if you hold on to God, God will use that opportunity to grow you, to make you stronger. So there's some things that's not necessarily an attack from the devil that you would have been able to avoid, because there's some things on this journey, if you've had to walk a while to get where you're going, sometimes you get blisters on your feet. Sometimes you have to sleep in the wilderness. Sometimes you forgot to pack enough food. And what that does is that will give you wisdom, and it gives you strength. And it gives you encouragement in yourself, saying, you know what? You see that big mountain right there? I just crossed over that mountain. It looked huge, but I took it step by step, and now look what I did. I survived that. So look at the hurdles or the mountains that has been in your life. Every once in a while, look back there and go, you know what? That should have took me down, but I survived that. Yeah, I got a couple little scars here where I fell down. I had a blister or 2 on my feet. But man, I survived that. So what does the devil do, and how does he try to get us to give up on this journey? We're going to look at Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1. And the first thing it says is, now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. So one of the translations of the Bible says that he was crafty. He was shrewd. He was subtle. He was smart. All of us have enough smarts that if a big demon comes to you and he's stinky and he's smelly and he's gross and he would say, "Come follow me," you'd be like, "No, I don't think so." We have enough smarts that way, right? To know that that is not a good decision for us. However, the devil is cunning and he's subtle and he's smart. So he comes as a wonderful creature. It doesn't say that she screams because there's a serpent and she's not used to talking to it. She engages in a conversation. So he probably came with a big smile. He was probably very nice. That's what the devil will use. He uses these little tricks to try to get in to destroy you off of your path. And he knows if he can get into your mind, your thinking, then he can start to control you like a puppet. That's why pay attention to your thoughts. If you're feeling pretty good about yourself and all of a sudden you get this thought of, "Well, you're so stupid. Nobody likes you. Nobody will miss you." Where did that come from? That didn't come from your Heavenly Father. See, it's subtle. He knows if he can start planting his thoughts in your mind, then he can destroy you. Just take one hit. It's okay. See how that feels. See, if we knew that our decision today, if we would have a magic mirror that we could look from what that decision would do to 5 years down the road, we'd have a completely different outlook. If we knew that us having sex that night would have led to that disease, we would have did something differently. If we knew that that one joint later would find us in a halfway house having to go through a detoxification from heroin and meth, we would have ran from that. But see, that's how the devil is. He'll tell you, it won't hurt. Go ahead. You've got that credit card. They've even called you platinum. Wow, that's awesome. That makes you feel better about yourself, right? I got a platinum card. Oh, wait, maybe I can get the black American Express card. Makes you feel good about yourself. Go ahead and use it. That's what it's for. But if you don't have the wisdom to go with it, how many of you know if you can only make the minimum payment, you're looking at years and thousands of dollars. So if you knew what your decision today would be in 5 years' time, you would think differently about it. But that's how the devil gets you. He's subtle. It's just a little thought. And if you don't kick that thought out and replace it with something that's going to help you, it's going to take hold and it's going to get a root to it. So that's how the devil wants to get Eve first, just by a thought. So it says that now that he was more cunning than any beast in the field, he goes to Eve and he says, "Has God indeed said that you shall not eat of every tree of the garden?" So now he wants to get you thinking. He wants to get you doubting what it was that God said. Satan knows what to do, and he knows who to use to slither into your world. Has God said? See, he can use God's name, but how it comes across is he didn't say, "Has the Lord your God." He leaves out the relationship. Strictly from the religion. Oh, the devil doesn't mind that you come to church. He really doesn't. And if you'll stay legalistic and if he can have you feeling guilty or bored the entire time, he's good with that. But when you get in a relationship with God, that's when he gets worried. But as long as you keep it religion, because I don't know about you, but religion has tore up a lot of people's lives. Religion is what some cults are based upon. Religion keeps you feeling more fearful of God than in love with God. Religion makes you feel condemnation. Religion makes you feel like you can't even go to church. So the devil doesn't care about that. He doesn't care if you go to a dead church, if he goes to a church that preaches hellfire and brimstone and all these do's and don'ts. He's good with that. But if you start falling in love with your Savior and your God and you have a relationship, then he can't touch you. He has to back up. So what he does first is he gets her questioning what God said. And then he has God as, has he said that you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? How unfair is that? Seriously, God made all of this stuff, yet he tells you what you can't do? What's he holding out on you? See, we think of God holding out on us, but what he's doing, he's not talking about the freedom. He's talking about the restriction. He doesn't come and say, you mean you can eat from every single one of these trees except for one? That's a pretty good deal. No, he doesn't talk about the freedom. He wants to point out the restriction. That's what young Christians do, or people that are against church say, well, if you're a Christian, you can't do this, and you can't do that, and you can't do this. It's just a bunch of rules. Oh, that's the devil. See, you need to flip that. If you're a Christian, you can read this Bible, and it can teach you how to be successful. If you're a Christian, when the doctors say there's no hope, you can go to God in prayer. And if it's God's will, they'll be healed. If you're a Christian, you can call on him for the angels to help you. If you're a Christian, you can call upon him and he'll give you peace. He'll give you encouragement. He'll give you joy. If you're a Christian, he has the right person set up for you to be your mate in life that will bless you and lift you up, that will keep you safe and not beat you. There's some restrictions, but the freedoms more than outweigh the restrictions. And the only reason that there's a restriction is because when you sin, you separate yourself from God. It's because of God's love for you that he doesn't want you to sin. Because he's like, if you're sinning, man, my hand's not there. You've separated yourself from me. So he's getting Eve to look at, hey, he's holding out on me. Why can't I eat of that tree? So he wants to paint a God as a God that wants to keep you from having a good life, having a good time. And you say, well, I want to be my own person. Honey, you're not your own person. Because whether you think you're serving somebody or not, you're either serving the devil or you're serving God. There's no neutral. I'm sorry. So just trash the idea of you're going to be your own person and independent. It doesn't exist. Because the mere fact that you can breathe, that has nothing to do with you. And I, actually, when I was little, I didn't like that idea. I like being my own person. But you have to get used to the fact that you're not, and you are serving somebody. So we need to serve the one that will help us, the one that loves us, the one that we will be on the winning team. So he starts her questioning, you can eat from them all, but not that one. And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees in the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat it or touch it, then you shall die. Then the serpent says to the woman, you will not surely die. There won't be any consequences. What God says, it's not true. Because the Bible was written so long ago, it can't affect my life now. Things have changed so much since then. We're still flesh and bone, still have the same emotions. The Bible can be as real today as it was thousands of years ago when it was written. But he has her starting to question the truth now. So you might say, if you're not learned in the Bible, you might say, well, they did eat from it and they didn't die. You know, there's all kinds of deaths. You can die financially. Been there, done that one. You can die emotionally. Been there, done that one. You can die spiritually. You can die physically. You can die emotionally. So there's all kinds of different deaths. And the reason that God said that when you touch it, when you take from that, you've now introduced evil into your mind. Now you know what evil is. Now you've introduced sin. And there's a death because there's a separation because I can't work where you're in sin. So he says, you won't die. So now he's turned it to a question. He's turned God's commandments into a question. Oh, and we're in that society now. God will say, do not. And we're like, yeah, that was a guideline. I don't think he meant it for this situation. I think there was a loophole over here in this situation. So we start questioning his commandments. But Satan is known as the father of lies. So he says, you won't die. So what she does is she goes ahead. Then the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. In other words, he didn't want her to any longer have to answer to God. You be your own person. You don't have to submit to him, obey, or answer him, because now, see, you'll be smart just like God. Don't you know those people? We live in that kind of society, sad to say. We know what God would think. We understand this situation. We know what to do. We don't have to rely on him. So he wants you to be self-reliant. He doesn't want you to submit to him. He wants you to eat from this tree of good and evil. And so what he does is he says, so when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate it. So what did he do? He not only planted a thought in her mind. This tree she had gone by probably every day. Didn't really pay any attention to it. But all of a sudden, when the devil gets her thinking a certain way, her eyes start to see a little bit different. Well, I never noticed how pretty that tree was. It looks completely different than all the other trees. He gets a desire in her. Now there's an emotional attachment because it says, it was desirable to make me wise. When you're in a relationship and you're committed, doesn't matter who walks by you. You're not going to look at them with a desire. But the devil starts planting a seed in your mind. And man, they don't look like they used to. Man, it's not as good as it used to be. Well, I never noticed their eyes before. Look at how they laugh and talk with one another. Look how caring they are in their conversations. They were there all along, but the devil planted a thought, and it changed what you saw. All of a sudden now, this is more desirable because this is the forbidden. And then the devil tells you, well, you'll have what with them, what you never had with this other person. Now, I'm not saying that there's not times that God has us make changes in our life, but there's a difference. If it's a thought that the devil's putting in, you were perfectly happy all of a sudden, and all of a sudden over here, there's a temptation. Look and see if that temptation is coming from the devil. 99.9% of the time. The answer is yes. God's not going to tempt you with another person. He won't use one person to break up a marriage. And you say, oh, that was my soulmate over there. God won't do that. So he knows that if he can get her questioning God, looking at a commandment as a suggestion, and change the way that she sees things, he's got her. His first move is to do this because he knows that if he can get her to sin, then it will affect others. If she could have saw in advance what that one decision would have done, she wouldn't have been tempted and she would have ran away. With this Bible, we have a chance to see every day what our one decision would do in the future if you go to God in prayer. Think about each decision that you make. She didn't think that the taste of that fruit would still be an issue that we're dealing with thousands of years down the line. The decisions that you make that may seem small will affect those not even born in your line yet. That's a big task. That's a huge responsibility. But what a great privilege it is. The fact that you're sitting in church this morning, getting a little bit more wisdom, the way then that you're going to handle your life will go down your family bloodline to those that you haven't even met yet and won't meet till you get to heaven. That's a true hero of a story, and that's what each of us have to do. So one of the strategies that the devil's going to use, number one, is he's going to try to get into your thoughts. You want to avoid those pit holes, those explosives. Pay attention to the thoughts that you have and take control of them. But whether or not you have a way to get to church, you have a Bible. Don't let church be the only place that you get wisdom. Don't let the only time that you hear the Bible is when I read it to you on Sunday. That might give you enough to survive, but you'll be on the verge of starvation. If you don't understand the King James translation, get one that you understand, because it's awesome. You want a good book to read. Talk about a novel of suspense. There's murder, there's love, there's action, there's thriller, there's horror, there's twist in the plots like you wouldn't have seen coming. It's an amazing read. And not only will it be an entertaining read, but if you pay attention to it, it will give you tools to succeed in this journey called life. As they're getting ready to sing the closing song, I don't know how long you've been on your journey with Christ. I don't even know if you've been on the journey with Christ. Or maybe you've been on the journey with Christ and you've lost your map. Why don't we let today be a turning point in your life that you can decide, I want to not just survive life, I want to succeed at life. I want to make the landing with all my arms and legs intact. I want both ears. I want both eyes. I want to make the landing spiritually strong. So this year, right now, has been filled with a little bit of pitfalls, quicksand, explosives coming at you. He's doing everything he can to try to wear you out. Take this moment right now to revive yourself, to shake yourself, to go, okay, we've got a little bit refreshed now. I went and got my son, when he plays games, every once in a while you can see the health line going down, and he will have to go somewhere and get a boost to his health line, and you can see the bars go back up. Well, you have to make, he can't just lay there and have somebody come by and put health into him. He actually has to try to make it somewhere. There's an action involved. So if you are tired this morning, why don't you shake yourself? Why don't you go, God, pour into me this morning. Give me the wisdom that I need. Help me to get through these situations. Bring peace into my household. Make it count while you're here. Make it count. Make it worthwhile. And if you'll do that every day with every decision, oh, my lands, the people that you're going to be able to rescue. Because see, if you're barely making it, you can't throw your brother on your back. You have to be strong. Feed yourself on the word. Get that wisdom. Why don't you be the first one in your family maybe that became a millionaire at age 25? And I'm not saying it's all about money, but what I'm saying is if you apply the Bible to success, it works every single time. Maybe you'll be the only one in your family that's ever graduated the university. Maybe you'll be the only one in your family that's ever survived the disease that took everybody else out. Maybe you'll be the only person in your family that hasn't gotten a divorce. All the things that you need to make that a success is here in this book. You should guard this book with your life. It should be the most valuable possession that you have. It can speak to you when you're heartbroken. It can lift you up when you're discouraged. It can bring healing into your bones when there's no help. If you don't have a Bible, please come and see me. I want to make sure that you have the map for your destination called life. God bless you.